She's the friend who'll show up with coffee or wine when you need it most, but probably wine. Good vibes are on the way. Welcome to Erin O'Malley's Feel Good Frequency.
Welcome back to Erin O'Malley's Feel Good Frequency. I'm Erin, and I thank you so much for spending some time with me today. If you are losing a little bit of faith in humanity, you have found the podcast to help you restore it. I get so excited with every guest that comes on here and talks about what they're doing with their lives, because every single one of them is making a difference in this world. And that is what we need to hear more of, this kind of positivity, even in the face of some of the darkest times you can think of. This next guest, his name is Matt Brown, and I first heard of him when he was just 15 years old and had a moment that completely altered his life forever. It's such a great reminder that we cannot control everything that happens to us in life. All we really have the power over is what we're going to do with it, how we react to it. And if you ever find yourself in a situation like this gentleman did, I truly wish for you the friends, family, support system, and attitude that Matt Brown has carried with him. Matt Brown, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with me.
No, Erin, thank you. I'm so happy to be a part of this.
I wish it was actually in person, but I remember in 2010 praying for you. Were you 15?
Yeah, January 23rd, 2010.
And it was all over the news that you suffered a spinal cord injury during a hockey game. I don't remember any of the specifics except that I remember praying for you and not knowing what the outcome would be. Was it touch and go there for a bit where they didn't know if you'd still be here?
Yeah, I think when you're dealing with the spinal cord, really anything can happen. And I was rushed to South Shore Hospital right after I got hurt. I spent about 45 minutes down there. They really stabilized my neck, and we knew that the spinal cord injury at South Shore Hospital, we were going to need to be moved to a much bigger and more stable hospital, such as Children's. So Children's was made aware. I remember getting intubated. I remember telling my parents I loved them. And I woke up really 4 or 5 days later at Children's Hospital, intubated. And there I kind of realized that I was paralyzed from the shoulders down.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember the incident as it happened, or did you black out before?
No, I remember it pretty clearly. It was my third game after getting called up to the varsity team. And every game I felt better and better on my skates. I felt like I was getting more confident. And that game started, and I couldn't do a single thing right on the ice. Pucks were bouncing off my stick. I was falling. About halfway through the first period, coach had enough, and he kind of sat me. Someone else jumped up. Our line wasn't playing great, so we kind of mixed and matched, vice versa. And we were lucky to make it out of the first period just down a goal. And we got into the locker room. I don't really remember much of the what was said in the locker room. I don't remember who I was sitting next to. But about halfway through the second period, coach turned, looked at the three of us, and said, "Now go do something." I remember hopping the boards, seeing the puck make its way past the red line, past our blue line, and down to our defensive end. Now, as a forward, I was the first guy back, kind of out of position, but I made the decision that I'm going to go for it. And I remember that the puck bounced off the boards behind the net, came right back between my feet, and I looked down. And it was at that same exact moment that my body and the player on the other team, our bodies collided. I ended up losing my footing and went headfirst into the boards. And one of the first things that you're taught in hockey is that when you get hit, you get right back up. And so you don't want to leave your team out a man down. So I sent that message to my body, but nothing happened. I was a little confused. Sent the message to my body again, and I couldn't do anything. And one of the last things I remember before my brain kind of shut itself off was locking eyes with my dad and my mom, which is very rare because my parents never watched games together. My dad was always against the glass with the other dads, and my mom was up in the stands with all the moms. each of them cheering very hard. In this instance, my mom came down to chat with my dad, and I hit right at their feet.
Oh my gosh.
I hit right at their feet,
Oh wow, I just got chills. Oh my gosh.
and I locked eyes, and I don't remember this, but he yelled, "Are you okay?" And he could see it in my face that I wasn't, and I blacked out, and I came to. One of my best friend's mom was a nurse in the ER, and she was down with one of the EMTs on site trying to cut off my chin strap and keep me calm and let me know that the paramedics were on their way.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were awake from then on until they put you in a coma in Boston Children's.
Yeah, and I remember looking around. I was on my side. I remember looking around and seeing that there were a lot of pairs of shoes on the ice. My coaches walked out. I was looking around and seeing some of the different pairs of shoes, and I just remember locking eyes on my mom's jeans and her feet, and her jeans had been wet, kind of up above the ankle. That let me know that she'd been on the ice for a little bit longer than a normal injury coming out to sea, and that let me know that it was very, very serious. And the paramedics got there. They moved very slowly, which was great because they didn't want anything else to happen to my spine or getting moved. And throughout that entire time, you could hear a pin drop. The rink was completely silent. And I remember kind of getting lifted off into the stretcher and getting wheeled off. And I'm sure you've seen it in other sports that when a player gets hurt or is wheeled off, they throw like their hand up, the thumbs up, or like a fist, just to
Sure.
kind of reiterate thanks. And I tried to do that, and I couldn't. And just seconds earlier, each fan section was going crazy, kind of cheering each team on, booing each other's teams. But for them to come together and do that big cheer, all I wanted was to show my thanks.
Did it scare you how quiet it got?
Yeah, and I think I think that, and when I was on my side, just because of my breathing, there was a perfectly clean area of ice around my mouth, and it's just one of the things that I remember thinking, and that the snow was built up, and my breathing created a perfectly clean sheet of ice right in front of me, and that also let me know that I've been on the ice for a long time. And then when I got into the ambulance, the EMTs were kind of checking over my body, and I remember staring at the lights on the top of the ceiling, thinking, "Is any of this real? What just happened?" And again, that ride to South Shore Hospital took a long time because they couldn't risk hitting any potholes or anything. When I got rushed through the emergency room doors, I have this vision or this feeling of just that warm air going from the cold January day through the ER, getting blasted on me, and then just the last thing what happened next was nothing but organized chaos.
Yeah, I bet.
Doctors were trying to figure out what was going on. My parents were there trying to get answers. We had friends trying to show up, trying to make their way back to us. I was taken for CT scans. Again, ultimately intubated, and Children's Hospital came down and got me, and that's where I woke up 4 or 5 days later.
And you were at Children's for 21 days and then went through rehabilitation for 100 days. Is that right?
Yeah, it was 100 days total. I was in Children's from January 23rd to February 17th, and then I was flown down to the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, and there I did February 17th to May 5th.
That is so much time. But then I read that you were absolutely determined to graduate with your class, no matter what. And you went through summer school and everything.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I joke about with the schools or organizations when I talk to them is that, can you imagine this? I go through the injury, 21 days at Children's, 2.5, 3 months down in Shepherd Center, and what do I come home to? Summer school. It's like it's like
right? You can't catch a break.
It's like there's something about that just isn't fair.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, and but I looked around at my friends that I had known since kindergarten, and I couldn't imagine graduating with anyone else. So for about 8 weeks, we had tutors come in, 4 or 5 days a week, caught up on English, science, math, and history. And I should say that one of the big pressing things of making me graduate with my class was that my sister was a grade behind me, and there was no way she was going to want to graduate with me. She was going to want her spotlight.
There you go. That makes the Irish twins. I understand. She did not want to share that spotlight with you.
No, she did not. So she was a big driving factor behind graduating with my class on time.
Oh, I bet. Come on, Matt. Summer school's cool. You
Yeah.
can do it.
Meanwhile, my friends are at the pool.
Right.
Some of my friends, stayed downstairs, playing video games. I'd come up, meet them 3 hours later, still in the same spot. A pizza was delivered. Yeah.
I love, though, the fact that they still are trying to hang out with you. They just know that you have school to do, so they're going to go, hang out inside and play video games until you're able to hang out with them too, which is cool.
And I'm telling you, I still, I've been so lucky for so many reasons with the community, with my family, but my friend group is really, really special. We still have a group message of 14 of us. Everyone lives in the area. We get together as much as we can, and they've been a driving factor of keeping me so positive.
I love that. You even got the Golden Diploma Award. What the heck is that? I've never heard of that before, so I'm like, I have to ask him about that.
Yeah, that was. It's in my room somewhere. It was given to 3 students on graduation that year. 3 students who overcame obstacles to graduate on time, and that's something that I hold near and dear to my heart.
Oh, you should, because that was all you, man. You were determined and you did it. That's remarkable. I'm really proud of you for that, because that is huge. You have such a positive attitude, and I feel like you've carried it with you through all of this. I know you said your friend group is remarkable. You must have pretty incredible parents too. You've mentioned them a little bit, but your family, wow, because your attitude is like, you did not let this get you down, and many people would have. And I've admired you from afar for so long for all you've done and accomplished, and your unwavering positivity.
Well, thank you. That attitude started in Children's Hospital. A few days after I woke up, I was asking why a lot. Why did this happen to me?
Sure.
What did I do to make to deserve this? And just as I was hitting my lowest point, family and friends started to flood my ICU room. And it was then that, I decided that we can't change the past, no matter how much we want to. Change is inevitable. And I decided that, at 15 years old, I still had a long life ahead of me. And I would be foolish to let it waste away. And, trust me, I have bad days, and bad days are okay. I think one of the best things that we kind of adopted was the day-by-day, hour-by-hour attitude. If we're having a good day, keep it up. Having a good hour, keep it up. If we're having a bad day or a bad hour, that's okay, but let's figure out what we got to do to change it.
You are so spot on with all of that, which is obviously something that helped carry you through college, because you went to, was it Easton, Stonehill College in Easton?
Yeah, correct.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you have a degree in communications. Then you wrote a book, because you don't have enough going on. So the book, tell me about it. Line Change, is that what it was called?
Yeah, Line Change, a story of true resilience in the face of adversity.
I feel like it was a documentary of what you went through and the day in, day out of it, and not giving up.
Totally.
What made you want to do that?
Okay, so it's a little bit of a long story, but all we have is time today, right?
That's right. I got time.
So it starts back in 2011. I was over at Spalding one late August day, and I was lucky enough to be invited by Andrew Ferentz for his day with the Stanley Cup. The Bruins won the Stanley Cup in June. Andrew was gracious enough to invite me and my family for his day with the Stanley Cup. And Andrew, being as generous as they come, went over to the patients over at Spalding, brought the cup, and over there was Team Hoyt, Rick and Dick Hoyt and the entire team. And Todd Sivan had just sat down with the Hoyts to write their first book, one letter at a time. Todd and I got to talking. He knew a little bit about my story. We We had a great time, and he said, you should think about writing a book. And I was over the moon, but I knew it wasn't time yet. And I would see Todd every Marathon Monday morning, as we got to the Sheraton, got on the buses, and he would always end the conversation with, "Hey, you should think about writing a book." I'd smile, be over the moon, and say, "It's not time yet." And I remember that when I got to senior spring, I had all my friends talking about, like, what are they doing after college? They had internships, they had jobs lined up, and I realized that I don't have anything really lined up. And if I went home to mom and dad without a job lined up, I was going to be in big, big trouble. and so I call it like just venting to Microsoft Word. I made it a point, a couple times a week to start talking about the early days, children's, high school, my time at college, the things I did. If I were to write a book, what I wanted to look like, how the chapters would flow. And I remember 3 weeks after graduation, I texted Todd and I said, "It's time."
Oh.
And he was thrilled. I sent Todd the 40 pages that I had, just rambling on Microsoft Word. And starting in August, we got on a call every single Saturday at 9 a.m. for about an hour. We would record it. He would read through, asking details, asking questions. I would fill in kind of the questions and answers that he was asking. And then he would send me the transcription. I would transcribe it into Microsoft Word, fill in any info that I saw fit. And then at the end, all we really had to do was go through and basically copy and paste, and the story wrote itself.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and we had every intention for writing it for kids in middle school, high school, and college, going through the everyday challenges that they face. But we got messages from folks of all ages and all walks of life, saying they were finding messages in there, helping them with their fight with depression or their fight for sobriety. And going back to some of those dark days, sure, it was hard. It was hard kind of revisiting that. But two things. I saw how far I'd come, graduated college, graduated high school, and then getting the messages from even one person made it all worth it. But when you got the messages from so many others of all over the country, that's why we did it. That's why we did it.
I love that. And you now have your own foundation too. You started this. Now, what year did you start this? 2020? Is that right?
So we launched it in June of 2020, smack dab in the middle of a global pandemic.
Sure. Why
not? I would recommend not trying that. But one of the silver linings was that it gave me so much time to learn what I needed to learn. We had to wait 15 months for our first event. We had a golf tournament in the following year in September. But what was so important was that village and that support system that I had behind me, they came to my side and allow us to help someone else. So that little village became a part of someone else's village. And in the last 2.5 years, the snowball effect has really, really grown into something that I'm very proud of. But I know that there's still a lot more to do.
And with this foundation, you help other people who have had spinal cord injuries with things like, because I was reading all about this because it's really, I didn't realize how many spinal cord injuries there are on a yearly basis. The number's way higher than I thought. And you help with physical needs like handicapped accessible bathrooms in their homes and renovations and things like that. Is that because of things that you and your family went through that it made you go, okay, other people are going to need this, and maybe other people don't have the support system I do, the family, the friends, and how can I help other people have the things that I now have? Is that one of the motivating, that was it?
Spot on. We saw that how lucky we were with the Norwood community, the Massachusetts community, the hockey community, the Boston Bruins Foundation was unbelievable to us. The Boston Bruins were unbelievable to us. Travis Roy's foundation was unbelievable to us. Thomas E. Smith's foundation was unbelievable to us. And so I knew that it was time for us to finally give back. And we tried when I was in college. I got busy, kind of let it slip through the cracks. And as I was writing the book with Todd, it kept coming back up. And I knew it was time to give it one more go. And we got everything incorporated in the fall of 2019. And my running partner, Lucas, and I were going to use that year's Boston Marathon as our launching. And of course, COVID hit. And then in June, kind of the world shut down. I thought some folks could use some good news. And so we launched it in June 2020. And the last 5 years have been great. You mentioned the bathroom renovations. We did one at the end of 2023 for an individual who hadn't been able to use his bathroom in his house for over a year.
Wow.
So we go in, and the Jack Chartier Foundation tagged along and helped us out. And we were able to make a handicap accessible bathroom, a shower that he could use. We've been able to help some folks with handicap accessible vans. And then just a few weeks ago, we were able to put in a adaptive swing set at one of the preschools in Norwood for an individual who used to just sit on the grass and watch his friends run around on the swing set. And now there's 3 adaptive swings there for him and for any other mobility impairment kids that come through the school.
That is the most beautiful example of what you are doing. I love that. This poor kid was sitting on the grass, not able to participate, and now he can.
3 years old and to no fault of his own. So now he gets to ride on the swing set. There's a big tire swing with a mesh lining under that 2 or 3 friends can join him. And when we went up to the playground party, just seeing the smile on his face and seeing the smile on all of his classmates' face, really hit home. And that made it, realize that one hit home and that one was a really good one. And they're all good ones.
Sure.
But that one was really important.
Yeah, that one actually has tears in my eyes because I think of the fact that you are here for such a purpose. It was not your time to go through something so physically horrific and devastating and violent that I can't imagine what that was like. But waking up at Children's and all the things that you've gone through since, you are making such a difference. I'm so honored to spend some time with you. I wish that everyone who had any sort of injury had half of the love and support that you have had, because it just is such a shining example of how unselfish you are and how incredible you have made your life. I hope you feel like, and you had to have, at that playground, you had to have felt like, oh my gosh, we did this. I thought of putting together this foundation for so long, and it finally came together, and look at this outcome.
Yeah. Seeing Amir with his Matt Brown Foundation sweatshirt on and the smile on his face, swinging, giving the thumbs up to all of his friends, and watching his parents being able to behind him and push him on the swing set, really got to us in a great way. And we're doing a few other standing frames for some individuals for them to be able to get up and stand in the comfort of their own home. We were able to do $130,000 in grants last year. We've already had $100,000 allocated for this year alone, with quite a few more grants coming in. And it's why we do it. And I always say I'm the lucky one with my name on the foundation, but it's the folks that run the marathon, that golf in the golf tournament, that run the Falmouth Road Race. Without them and without the support that we have, none of it would be possible. So again, I'm lucky that I have my name on it, but it's everyone that has come to our side and sacrificed the weeks and weeks in the cold, running the marathon, coming out on a hot day in July to golf in the golf tournament. They're the reason why we can do what we do, and we're able to grow year after year.
And I love that you are growing so much. And you and your running partner, you've done, is it 13 marathons now?
14 total.
Oh my gosh.
14 total. And we've done 11 Boston marathons, 2 New York City marathons, and 1 Hyannis marathon.
And you're constantly raising money doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
And what's been so great is that after getting the foundation up and going in 2020 was that we were finally able to run for ourselves. And, starting back in 2012, we ran some marathons for some great organizations, raising awareness, we're raising funds. But we always envisioned of one day how cool it would be to one day run for a foundation of our own. And this year, after applying for a few years, we were accepted into the official charity program of the Boston Marathon.
Yay!
And Bank of America and the BAA were incredibly gracious and gave us 5 bibs to use. And we had 35 applications come in, had to narrow it down to 5 folks. And this year's marathon, with our runners, our sponsors, we brought in over $141,000.
Oh my gosh! Congratulations! Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah, it was a dream. Looking at that number rise and rise and rise, and I would pinch myself some mornings to see, is this all real? But that's gonna go back and help someone that really needs it the most.
That is the best. So I know the next thing you have coming up is you were just mentioning it, the golf tournament. And this is your 5th year, right?
5th annual, yeah.
I love it. And is that sold out entirely? And
how
does that work?
We're our field set. We have 36 foursomes, but this has become our flagship event of the year. Every year, we have our fingers crossed for some good weather.
I got mine crossed for you too.
Thank you. We can control what we can control, and it always turns out to be a great day.
And I'm sure you're going to raise a ton of money with that, as you do every year. You said this is your flagship thing that you do every year. So I'm not only crossing my fingers and hoping for fantastic weather, but also record-breaking funding.
Music to my ears.
It's just getting bigger and bigger. That is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. And, when I say that, folks can say, like, what do you mean you're lucky? I just, this group that we have behind us, people come out of the woodwork and say, what do I need to do? Let me be a part of it. And it's been a really special 5 years.
Well, you realize the magnet to all of this is definitely you. I mean, there's a reason your name's on it, but it's also just spending this time with you. It's you. You are a magnetic personality. I want to be around you. You are sunshine. And I know you do motivational speaking and stuff too. Don't you do that? Because if not, you should.
No, I enjoy it. And, we've done a bunch of elementary schools and middle schools, high schools and colleges, kind of get to talk to, groups and companies and organizations, basically just letting them know that, change happens. Hard times can come out of nowhere, especially when we're least expecting it. But attitude can overcome adversity, which is the driving factor. I hope they hear my story and they say, all right, Matt hasn't given up yet. I'm not going to give up either. And one of the things that I always tried to leave them with is the thought of what if. And this was a thought that we started on early, the thought of what if. What if tomorrow is the day that my arms and legs start to work? What if tomorrow is the day that there's a medical breakthrough and the cure for paralysis is discovered? Why would I stop trying when tomorrow could be the day? And I kind of hopefully turn it on them. What if tomorrow's their day that things start to get better? Why would they stop trying when tomorrow could be the day?
That is so true. And it's, again, why you are such a great speaker, and you really are just a magnet. When I was looking at your foundation website, the first thing that I saw, never quit, overcome, forever forward.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? You?
One of our board members, as we were trying to think of a motto, the Never Quit started right back in 2010, right away on a ride home with me and my aunt. We were trying to find, something for the back of our shirts. And I just thought, never quit. And then, what happens when you never quit? You overcome. And what happens when you overcome? You push forward, and there's greener pastures, sunnier skies right around the corner.
Oh, I am telling you, you're like a walking Hallmark card, but it's sincere.
Yeah. No, thank you. At 15 and now at 31, sure, this has gone a lot slower than I would have hoped. Did I wish that I woke up, out of that coma and stuff started to happen? My arms came back, my legs came back. Absolutely. And one of the things that I try to tell newly injured spinal cord injury or paralysis survivors is that, don't look at me and see he's been paralyzed 15 years. I tell them every spinal cord injury is different, but look at the fact that I haven't given up. Got back to high school, went to college, marathons, travel, foundation. They'll find their fire in their belly to keep going and keep going forward.
You're such a gift. You're such a gift. Never change. Oh my gosh. I could hug your parents and your friends because your support system is what everybody in life deserves. And I'm so glad that you have had that. And I also know that you've had that because you were a spectacular human before you started this foundation and everything else, because this doesn't just happen. You can tell that you have a really huge heart, a great heart. And I thank you for taking that and making something beautiful with it, because you could have just lived private life, not done anything to make a difference, but you're making a difference in the world every day. And thank you for that. And I know everybody that comes in contact with you and that needs this foundation will forever be grateful for you.
Oh, well, thank you. And I again, you mentioned the friends and family, and they're the reason. And just keep going. I look at that motto every day of never quit, overcome, forever forward, and the thought of what if tomorrow's a day. So thank you.
Thank you. And I am forever praying for you, just like in 2010, forever praying for you.
Way back. That was those prayers and messages were felt. Getting the messages on my bedside from all across the country, all across the world, that I wasn't going through this alone. So those prayers were definitely felt. And I can't thank you enough for that.
Well, thank you for continuing to fight and then now finding a way to pay it forward and have just this beautiful full circle of kindness.
Thank you.
Matt Brown, I told you, isn't he remarkable? That golf tournament that we were talking about is actually happening this Monday. So you can get more information, maybe make a donation. It's all available on his website, which is mattbrownfoundation.org. Again, mattbrownfoundation.org. What a great human, an incredible support system. If you know somebody who is making the world a better place, even if you think it's something small, something local, that's okay. Some of the biggest, best ideas start out that way. And I would love to know what is going on and what they're doing. Maybe it's you that's doing something, that started a foundation, that started some kind of way to make the world a better place. Tell me about it. ErinO'Malley'sFrequency.com is where to do that. You can email me. It's also where you can find all the links to the platforms to check out this podcast and any you may have missed. ErinO'Malley'sFrequency.com. Oh, and next week, my friend, I have the co-founder of one of my favorite companies ever. It is Life is Good. John Jacobs will be right here. Don't miss it. Have a great week. Thanks for being here. Bye.